friends, it's Amy at Doki Doki Forest. Welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. Now today we are going to be creating in the Seasons Glue Book. Oh my gosh. Now, well, let's have it the right way. This is upside down. We're off to a good start. All right, turning it around, here we go. Now, Care over at My Take at the Lake and I both have Seasons glue books that we have been creating in for a full year now. We started last fall. Here we go, Cozy Up to Fall 2023. And we continued all the way until this year. And what this Seasons glue book is the culmination of our open collab, hashtag using the same images. And this is where we gather the same images together. Then separately, we glue our pages. Then we get back together and we share on YouTube so everybody can see what we've created, and we check out to see what happens if we have the same exact images. How do we create our pages? Do we create them the same or similar, completely different? It's really cool to see how we can take images and see, how each of us can move things and change things and glue them in all different ways. So it's so much fun. And yeah, I can't believe it's been a year. And one thing we started doing, we didn't do it last fall, but starting last winter, we also did digitals. We would come up with a collection of images and we would put them up on our Patreon pages. She has one and I have one. And we'd put up those pages for free. So you could get those digitals, download them, and use them in a glue book and play along with us. So because we never did fall last year, because we hadn't thought of it yet, we wanted to complete this Seasons glue book with some fall digitals. And of course, they'll be available for you as well. Now, I have a whole playlist if you want to see the other pages that are in here. Care has awesome videos you can check out as well on her channel. But right now, we're going to fill up the last pages here. We have quite a few, but we're going to fill up what we can with the fall digitals. Now, we each created different ones, so I'll show you what I have. So head on over to my Patreon page, and you can download and print. Again, this is totally free. You can just go over and download and print these images. And I tend to have a mix of both real and imaginary pictures. Some of them are beautiful outside pictures of pumpkins and animals, and then some of them will be like more illustrations. So like these are just so cute, all different fall critters and characters. And none of these images belong to us. Whoops. So just keep in mind that you can use these on your personal projects, but just kindly don't use these on anything that you would sell, because the copyright is all to the respective owner of each of these images. Whether it's a photo or an illustration, someone else did it. So we're just going to use them for fun. And so those were my fall pages. And then I did like a bonus Halloween page. So this page is Halloween themed. So those are all the things that you can download and print out from me. And Care has different digitals over on her Patreon channel. So I'll show you this one. Gorgeous outdoor photos. Look how cozy. We're both thinking cozy. The leaves are changing. Get a nice drink. Light a candle. Get a blanket. Yes, a nice blanket too. And snuggle down. And of course, she has other things too, but I won't show you all of those. You can go over to her channel and see them. You can go over to her Patreon and download them. So I think I've got all of that out of the way. But yeah, feel free to join in and play along with us. If you missed any of the past seasons, we have those digitals up on our Patreon as well. I think I mentioned that, but I just want to make sure you know, because of course we invite you all to play along. So the next thing I have to do is cut up all these images and then I may sort of sort them a little bit, and we'll get gluing. Will there be a story? I don't know. I never know. It's just, I start gluing and see if one happens. But I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this glue session. So first, let's cut everything. Then let's grab our glue sticks and get to work. Okay, so everything is all cut out and trimmed and ready to glue. So what I did after I cut everything out was I tried to sort everything into piles that were sort of a similar theme. And that really helps me with putting pages together. So that might be something that works for you. If you have a bunch of images, you can kind of sort them by color or by type, whatever you want to do, or subject, if you want to put all the animals in one pile and the nature or backgrounds in another pile. That kind of thing can be really helpful. Or you can just glue willy-nilly, of course. You don't have to do that. But when I'm doing these season pages, I find it very helpful to look through and see, what did Care pick out and what did I pick out, and how can these images go together? And will they make a story? So for me, creating a story is something I enjoy doing, and it actually helps me to create the pages. That's not something that you ever have to do or feel pressured to do. There doesn't have to be any kind of a story. It can just be beautiful pages that make you happy when you look at them, and that is enough for sure. But for me, I kind of like the creative exercise of, making up a story. And like I said, that just helps me personally figure out how to fit these images together. And it doesn't have to be a big story or anything like that. Like, I do have a story for these pages, and it's just a simple little story. It can just be going for a walk and what do you see, And that's kind of what this one is. So after I'm done gluing everything, I will share the finished pages with you and tell you the story I was thinking of as I created it. And you may be able to tell a little bit looking at the way things are glued, kind of my thought process or how I was grouping images together. I cut out that word fall there, and you can barely see it because it really blends in with those pumpkins. I kind of like that though. It's almost like a hidden message in the pumpkins. And I had some things I fussy cut. A lot of things I just kind of glued as is. I didn't do a ton of fussy cutting this time around. There was one page of images. There's a little Sophia pup. So cute. I love that Care found this image. Like, there's my Sophia, my pup. And the little puppy that she included with the sweatshirt is so cute. It really looks just like Sophia. No Boston Terriers this time around, though. Care has a Boston Terrier named Bitsy, and she's also had other Boston Terriers, all super cute and sweet. You can see them on her channel, and sometimes she'll include pictures of Bostons with her digitals, but this round we had some different pups. And I feel like, we picked a lot of similar pictures for our digital kits. We had like the same kind of ideas. Of course, we wanted to feature leaves and pumpkins and all those autumnal things. I tend to include a lot of like illustrations with my digitals. I just love seeing different artists and their interpretation of characters and animals, and especially if they're celebrating the seasons. I just love that. Look at that gorgeous page. Oh my gosh, that page right there that Care included, that big leafy background is gorgeous. I could put that background on like every single page. I would love that. I tried to save some of that background. You'll see how I cut out a chunk at the bottom there because that's where I'm going to stick one of the other pictures. And I wanted to kind of like save the leaves from just being covered. That way I could use them on the opposite page. I didn't do that with the bridge on the left there. I didn't trim out the leaves that were underneath that. And that was mostly because I have this little thin strip. If you look on the left of that bridge picture, you'll see a little thin strip of the leaves. So I could have taken an X-Acto knife and cut the square out. I'm just realizing that now. But I didn't. But that's okay. I had just enough of the leaves to use on the opposite page over here. Look at that. My little mushroom guy there. And I love that strip of leaves right there too. That's just ripped off from the opposite page, but it looks really nice. I like to cover up my pages. I know I've mentioned that before. Some great quotes too. Great quotes from Care. Autumn leaves don't fall, they fly. Autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower. If a year was tucked inside of a clock, then autumn would be the magic hour. She always finds really cool phrases to include with her digitals. Oh, and these patterns too I loved that she had. I like everything. But I do love this like plaid fall. It reminds you of like a flannel blanket, some sort of a cozy blanket that you would wrap up in. Really appreciate it too because I love, as I said, I love to cover up the pages. So having those sort of background images, those large images of, nature or a pattern are really great for putting down as a first layer, and then you can put other things on top. I kind of squished that phrase there. Autumn is the year's last loveliest smile. I wish I had tucked it in a little more because now it has a straight edge on the left, and when I put my words in or phrases in, I like for them to be in like a bubble, like a circular, like rounded edges. And now that one is like cut off on the left, but it's okay. It's a minor thing, but I just like rounded shapes when I'm putting in my words. I had one page of Halloween digitals. I was trying to think of the word. Oh, spaced out for a minute there. Yeah, I had one page of Halloween digitals. And I kind of feel like I want to do more Halloween images and maybe add some more at the end of this book. Maybe? I don't know. I still had pages left. Even after I finished gluing these ones, I had some more, or I have some more pages left in the end of this glue book. So I may do some Halloween type stuff in the back. And these are my last like autumn pages, and then I just have a couple Halloween pages I'll put on the last page. But these are the last of the, kind of autumn vibe, leaves and blankets and pumpkin spice and all that good stuff. We both picked out some nice teas or coffees. We both wanted those kind of images. Care found some good candles in the background too with her images. Actually, I think one of mine has candles too now that I think about it. But yeah, we both were thinking very similar about what kind of images we were looking for. You know what? I was having a really hard time putting down some of these big images, like lining them up. I kept putting them on crooked or, half off the page. I had to keep lifting them up and putting them down. Lifting them up, putting them back down. Luckily, I edited all of that out because you certainly don't need to see me suffering to put an image on a page. So, yeah, I think the total time for this was about an hour and a half, a little over probably an hour and a half. And you're seeing it at high speed here. So I think watching me do this in real time would be really boring for you. Yeah, but you can see it sped up, and then that way you can kind of get an idea of, how I put things together if that's of interest to you. Let me know if you like these behind the scenes process sort of sneak peek videos, or if you would rather just skip to the end and see the reveal. I'm always curious. I like watching when other people reveal their process because I like kind of seeing how the page came together, what was glued down first. You know, did they move the image around? They almost put it here, but then they decided to put it there. I always find that interesting. And then you can be like, oh, I wouldn't have put that there. I would have put that on the other side, or whatever you're kind of thinking. So I find it very interesting. But I'm just curious if you like it as well, or if you're just, ready to get to the end and see what it all looks like. Well, good news. We're at the end, and we're going to reveal the pages right now. Okay, so let's open up to our pages, and I'll tell you what I was thinking of, sort of the little story that was in my mind as I glued everything. Now we have a character, we will call them Rowan, and Rowan is just hanging out by the water, enjoying the sights, when they suddenly feel inspired after seeing all the leaves changing and that smell of leaves in the air, that they need to go out to their local farm and pick up some decorations. Maybe get some pumpkins, maybe get some sunflowers, but they need to head out. So they hop in their truck and, of course, on the way, they stop by their favorite coffee shop and pick up a pumpkin spice latte. And they head out to the farm, where they find all kinds of wonderful things, just as they were hoping. They pick out some pumpkins of all different colors and some sunflowers, load everything in the truck, and then, just as they're about to leave, they notice that there's a little shelf that has some, autumnal sort of decorations you can buy for your home, like some candles and things like that, corn stalks, other sort of knickknacks. Okay, a corn stalk is not a knickknack, but they have indoor and outdoor sort of decorations. And they spy a little gnome sitting there, a little gnome plush, all festive. And you know how these gnomes are showing up everywhere. For every season you find them, and they're very popular. I have a few as well. So Rowan decides that they simply must adopt this gnome. And they pick up the gnome, pay for everything, and then they head for home with the gnome tucked in the little passenger seat next to them. So they're driving home, and all of a sudden they hear something. Rowan hears a voice say, "Fall vibes." What? They think. They just barely heard it, but they think, well, maybe the radio was on or something. They look down, the radio is not on. I must have been hearing things. Then they hear again, "Fall vibes." And this time, Rowan can hear that the voice is definitely coming from the passenger seat. So they turn and look at the gnome, and they think, oh, this must be one of those like plushes where you squeeze the hand and they say something or a song plays. I didn't even know that. That's got to be what this is. And when they look back at the road, they notice they're on a road they've never seen before. It's winding through a forest, and it's not any road that they've ever driven on. And they think, how the heck did I get here, and where am I? Then they hear again, "Fall vibes." And they notice that upon their hands, these gloves have appeared, these embroidered with mushrooms gloves that they've never seen before. Okay, this is getting weirder and weirder, they think. Then in the road, they spy a little pup. Okay, not in the road. That's too dangerous. On the side of the road. But still, a pup by itself just sitting there. So they pull over to check on this pup and see if it has some sort of a collar or a license. Maybe they can see who this belongs to. They notice it's wearing a little sweatshirt that says, "Hey there, pumpkin." And no matter what they do or say, they cannot get this pup's attention. The pup is focused on this door in the tree. What is that, thinks Rowan. And of course, they go over and they open the door. They go through and find themselves on a bridge that goes into an autumn forest. Oh, I told you it was fall vibes. What? Rowan jumps and looks next to them, and there is a little gnome. Not just any gnome, but the same gnome that was in plush form is now right next to them and fully alive. The door is nowhere to be seen. Rowan's just surrounded by a forest no matter where they look. And they say, what? Are you the plush? Like, what's going on? And the gnome says, oh, yes, I was stuck in that form, and I have to thank you for bringing me back to the forest, where I can now return to my normal self. I don't understand what's going on, Rowan thinks. Now, in case you don't understand what's going on, I'll tell you. You're about to meet the 3 spirits of autumn, and they will bestow upon you the 3 gifts of autumn. Rowan at this point decides to just go with it. Nothing makes sense. That's just kind of how it is. And the next thing they know, they're following this gnome, walking through the woods. They can see animals all around them, playing in the leaves and going through the forest. And Rowan says, how are we going to know when we come across the spirit of autumn or one of these spirits of autumn? And the gnome says, oh, it's quite simple. Each one will be wearing a fancy festive ribbon. And then Rowan notices that there is a pup up to their chest in leaves, sniffing leaves and playing with them. The pup starts barking and greeting Rowan excitedly. The gnome translates. And here's the first spirit of autumn. And this spirit gives you the gift of beauty, of noticing autumn's beauty all around you. Rowan looks around, and although they always knew autumn was beautiful, they really begin to take it in. They hear the wind rustling through the leaves. They see maple and oak, leaves of reds and golds, slowly drifting down to the ground, forming piles all around that they can swish through. They noticed mushrooms of all different colors and shapes and sizes popping up all around them. They see the animals jumping in the leaves. They hear a flock of geese migrating over their heads in a clear blue sky. Rowan begins to think about visiting a farm, going through a corn maze, going on a hike and just doing leaf peeping, not really having any point at all, just wandering through the forest and really taking everything in, just like they're doing right now. There's a little mushroom that's holding a cup of something warm and really just enjoying the sound of the leaves as they float overhead and swish by their feet. I don't know if the mushroom has feet. And Rowan really decides to do the same thing and just enjoy how absolutely beautiful autumn is. And then they notice there's an owl ring on one of their fingers. Oh, yes, said the gnome. Each of the spirits will give you an owl ring, so you'll always remember these 3 gifts of autumn. They continue walking until they come across a new sort of area. This one's busy in a different sort of way, where all of the animals and characters here, the people, are gathering. They notice a big cat up in the tree, and sure enough, it's wearing one of those festive ribbons. The cat begins meowing excitedly, and the gnome once again can translate. Ah, yes, here's the second spirit of autumn. This one bestows upon you the gift of bounty. They would like you to appreciate all that autumn has to offer in terms of nourishment and taking care of all of the creatures of the earth. Rowan looks around and notices that there are squirrels and chipmunks that are out there foraging and gathering, their little cheeks stuffed full of all kinds of seeds and nuts that they can tuck away. Rowan notices apple trees with apples on the branches and ground, making them think of baking and what you can do with all of these apples and seasonal treats. You can make apple pie, apple cider, apple crisp. Rowan can smell the scents of spices in the air, They noticed pumpkins growing everywhere and start thinking of pumpkin pies and how you can take the seeds and roast them and make some delicious treats. And not only do they see the animals and people gathering for themselves, but they're also sharing their bounty with others. They're enjoying some nice spiced teas together with seasonal spices like nutmeg and cinnamon, some pumpkin pie spice. These carts set up like a little farmer's market where you can trade and share different foraged items or baked goods that you've made. And they feel so inspired by all that autumn has to give to everyone, and how generous autumn is with everything you can forage and find, not only for now to eat, but to save and tuck away and get through a harsh winter. Rowan really appreciates the bounty of autumn. Onward they walk, and immediately they see this little pup, again in a bunch of leaves, because there are just leaves covering this whole forest, this whole autumnal world that they're in, with a ribbon bow tie. The pup is barking and wagging its little tail, and the gnome says, yes, this is the third spirit of autumn, and they would like to give you the gift of cozy. Rowan understands this immediately. Immediately, they start feeling like they are wrapped up in a very warm and soft blanket with a beautiful plaid pattern on in orange and black and yellows. They can smell the books. There's a large library right there in the forest, chock full of all kinds of cozy books you can read. There's a crackling fireplace, a little fire that you can go and sit at with your blanket, grab a book, and snuggle down. And of course, there are autumnal drinks here as well for you to enjoy. It's time to get out sweaters and cardigans and stack them up and put them on and just feel like you're wrapped in a hug. This is a time of shorter days and longer nights. That means more cozy time to get snuggled down. There's a little typewriter too, so you can write all about what you see and smell and hear. And maybe your book will be on this shelf someday. It's window weather time, where sometimes the weather gets cold outside. It could be rainy or windy, and it's the perfect time to enjoy the weather outside while you're cozy inside. Rowan thinks it's definitely time to put on some fuzzy socks and to spend some comforting time by the fire and spending some together time with family and friends. This is the warm and toasty time of year. There's a book on the shelf that they can choose when it's time to go back to their world, taking with them the rings that they received and the memories. They will never forget these 3 gifts of autumn. And as they're about to take their book so they can go back, they notice on the shelf there's one section with some creepier books. And when they look closer, they can see there's a little portal that looks through to another world where there are ghosts and dragons, potions, vampires. And they ask, what is this world? Oh, says the gnome, that is the Halloween world. And then a little froggy appears. Pop. Oh, would you like to come through to the Halloween world? Oh, why, Rowan starts to answer, but the gnome interrupts. No. That's an adventure for another day. The end. And I think I will continue this. I think I will do some Halloween here. Maybe Rowan will go through to the Halloween world. And yes, this was inspired by the brilliant Tim Burton and The Nightmare Before Christmas, especially this door that leads to the autumn world that's in a tree. That's totally inspired by The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is a brilliant story and movie. And there's this forest with all of these trees that have doors that go to each season. So when I saw this door, that's immediately what I thought of, was that I wanted to put it with a tree and have it be the portal to another world. So if you haven't seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, definitely watch it. It's an amazing movie. Tim Burton comes up with some really wild stuff that is so creative and so fun. I hope you liked this story. I hope you're enjoying some gifts of autumn yourself. I hope you've noticed some beautiful things outside, or you've eaten some tasty treats of autumn, or maybe you're just snuggling down in the blanket and reading a nice autumn cozy book. Let me know if you're doing any of those things in the comments. I would love to know how you're enjoying autumn, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're enjoying spring. So you can let me know how you're enjoying spring as well, or how you enjoy autumn when it's that time of year for you. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I always love to have your company. Thank you to Care for doing this with me, this open collab with me. It's been an absolute blast and I love it. I think we will probably be sharing flip throughs of our whole Seasons Glue Book journal at some point. And again, I'll have a playlist listed below if you want to see some other stuff, some other pages that I've made in here. But I hope you have an awesome day. Stay cozy, enjoy something delicious today if you can, and I will see you again soon.